What's up, A to Z Sports Live on this Wednesday? Going to be a big show because the Titans made a bunch of moves yesterday when it comes to the coaching staff and the official elevation of Tim Kelly as Titans offensive coordinator going into the 2023 season and what all goes along with that. So I'm sure there are a lot of opinions, emotional reactions, and judgments from the fan base, from Zach and I, and what happened yesterday with Tim Kelly, who was brought to the Titans staff as pass game coordinator before this past season and now elevated to offensive coordinator to replace Todd Downing in that position, who was fired just about 1 month ago. So staying in-house at offensive coordinator. And so we'll talk a lot about that. Mike Vrabel did have a Zoom press conference yesterday reacting to the move that he made. And so we'll play a couple videos from Mike Vrabel there. They also made a bunch of different coaching hires and some sliding around. Several coaches that were currently on staff also have new roles. So we'll discuss a lot of those things throughout this week. So this isn't just a one show type of thing. You know, today's Wednesday. We're going to have a lot of conversation Thursday and Friday about Tim Kelly as offensive coordinator, but we're going to get you guys involved. We'll play our one-word game that people are trying to rip off across the internet. And then we'll also ask about one positive thing that you can find in Tim Kelly being the Titans offensive coordinator. It is a Wednesday, Zach, so I'm sure throwing shade will be involved in the one-word segment, but we'll throw shade officially at the end of the show. But welcome in. Let's buckle up for a big show here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, as they say.
Yes.
There's a lot to talk about, and I'm sure the chat has a lot to say, as do you, as do I. So as we get closer and closer to officially launching this particular show, we are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We got you covered there. We'll tweet out segment by segment our YouTube links on our Twitter handle at A to Z Sports, at ATOZ Sports. So you can follow us there. That would probably do you some good because we got great content going out constantly on Twitter to keep you guys in the know. We got great streaming content and live content going out on YouTube, as well as videos, podcasts. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you've already subscribed, go ahead and like this video as you watch this particular show. It'll help the algorithm get more people coming in here to comment and interact with the chat on YouTube. Also on Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? The real OGs, the guys and girls that have been here since day one. Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing on this show. Share the show around. That would help us out. We need to pop up, in your Facebook friends news feed. So let's get this party started. A lot to dive into as the Titans and Mike Vrabel, Austin, they wanted to wait till the right time, right? The timing was right. And yesterday, the timing came to fruition, and somebody got upgraded.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media, as we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Link to the show on our Twitter timeline segment by segment. Also hit us up on Instagram and TikTok for more Titans content. We do need to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to make them a part of your new car buying process, or you can go check them out in Lebanon. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. That means better coverage, rates, and service. Learn more about a health plan for you. FBHP.com/ATOZ, and Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. If you've been injured in a car wreck, go to call Hughes and Coleman at 800-800-4600 for a free case consultation. So Zach, Tim Kelly officially named as Titans offensive coordinator after spending this past season, 2022, as the pass game coordinator under recently fired offensive coordinator Todd Downing. And Tim Kelly was a part of a lot of different moves that the Titans made yesterday on the coaching staff. New coaches, Charles London, the pass game coordinator and quarterback coach. Chris Harris officially named defensive pass game coordinator and cornerbacks. Lori Locust comes from Tampa as a defensive quality control coach. Justin Hamilton, another defensive quality control coach. Tony Dews goes from running backs to tight ends. Jason Haltailing is the new offensive line coach. Pat O'Hara goes from quarterbacks to pass game analyst. And Luke Steckel goes from tight ends to run game analyst. And the Titans will need to hire a running back coach. But we know the headliner is Tim Kelly being named the offensive coordinator. And we'll have plenty of time to talk about the shifting and creation of new roles when it comes to analysts on the staff. But let's go to head coach Mike Vrabel, who held a Zoom press conference yesterday afternoon after the news came out on why Tim Kelly got the job.
I think it's the right fit for us at this time. It's the perfect fit. Met with some really good candidates. Yeah, I think what Tim ultimately was able to do was be able to provide some familiarity and some carryover to what we were doing, because I don't think everything's broken. I don't believe that. But then also be able to, add some things that can really help us and take advantage of some opportunities. I've seen him, call games in this league against us. Felt like he has a great feel for the game, his energy, his leadership, all things that came out throughout this process of multiple meetings with him and other candidates.
So there's a lot there, Zach, but Mike Vrabel called Tim Kelly the perfect fit at this time for the Titans as their offensive coordinator. What stood out to you most from that 56 seconds of Vrabel talking about the new Titans OC?
I think what stood out to me is that, and this is kind of what has led our show, which is the perfect fit. That makes no sense. I'll just be honest. I have to clear my head on this.
Okay.
How is it the perfect fit? If it was the perfect fit, wouldn't you figure out a way when your trash ass offense was not marching down the field scoring points because you didn't score 30 points in a single solitary game? Mm-hmm. You didn't defeat a team with a winning record all season, and your offense was a shell of itself time and time again, and you stuck with Todd Downing. Why is it the perfect fit now, but not anywhere close to being a fit in the season? It doesn't make sense. Like, there is logic, and that is not logical. Well, you could have said that he earned the job in different ways. But my problem with what Mike Vrabel said there was that he is telling the public, the media, the people that are asking the questions, and everybody in the NFL that Tim Kelly, the new offensive coordinator, is the perfect fit. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Zach, I totally agree. Like the words that Mike Vrabel said make no sense, and they also don't make logical sense. And Zach, let's go ahead and rewind back to training camp in 2018 when Mike Vrabel infamously gave me a lot of four-letter words from 50 yards away for filming the third field. And I was in the right there. I was not in the wrong. And I was told by a Titans staffer that sometimes the head coach doesn't operate with logic. And so that was 5 years ago with Mike Vrabel, and sometimes that he doesn't operate with logic, but that's the sales job that Mike Vrabel has. And Zach, I also want to rewind because if you remember, we had a pretty significant conversation in early December when I said enough with Todd Downing. And you know me, I have been enough with Todd Downing even before the 2022 season kicked off as offensive coordinator. But I said on this show to you and to Sam in multiple back-to-back weeks that Todd Downing needs to be gone now, because then what you have is Tim Kelly, who is currently on the staff, who has experience calling plays, with an opportunity to audition with 4 or 5 games left. I started with this right after the loss at Philadelphia. I said Todd Downing can go now, and give Tim Kelly 5 games to audition for the job. And then it didn't happen. Then they lost to the Jags. And then I said again, okay, fire Todd Downing now. And then Tim Kelly has 4 games to audition for the job. And that did not happen. And so I think, and we'll get into our one word here in a second, because there's a lot of guys in here, guys and gals, commenting on what's going on with this. But I do think that there is an obvious failed and missed opportunity to see what Tim Kelly can do within your building when it comes to calling plays and being the offensive coordinator, that would have given you that data, that sample size on top of what you know about him from Houston, to then go into this process with that in the bank. But now they did not take advantage of that opportunity, and they have committed to Tim Kelly in 2023, and they're going to ride or die with it. It's either going to work or it's not going to work. And if it doesn't work, that's 2 coordinators in a row that didn't work for Mike Vrabel. What's going to happen to Mike Vrabel? So there's a lot of things that ride on this hire, Zach, but I we can get the comments and the chats coming in here, but man, I just could not stop thinking about the missed opportunity the Titans had in December to get Tim Kelly on the job work.
I don't understand that they had the 30th ranked offense in the NFL. And when it came to points, they had the 28th ranked scoring offense in the NFL. All of the surrounding teams around them are all picking top 10 because they're bad football teams. And the guy that you had in-house but refused to change it. The offense was bad in the middle of the season just as much as it was bad at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Like, these are facts. These aren't anything else. This is just straight facts, homie.
Sure, absolutely.
And if you had the perfect fit right underneath you, right within your grasp, in your facility day in and day out, why was he not impacting the offense?
Yeah. And so we'll talk about that.
They're 30th.
Yeah, no, I know. So
they never scored 30 points.
Yeah.
It's 2022. Well, it was 2022. Now it's 2023. I think more points are being scored now than ever. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I would agree with that overall. All right, so let's get to some chat, and then we're going to ask you guys some comments. For more comments here, Andre gives us some jackpot bucks here. He says, "When I heard Vrabel say familiarity and carryover, the offense isn't broken, almost through my phone. This feels like being pissed on and told it's rain. We needed new energy and direction, not this." Andre, very worth your $10 jackpot bucks for that comment there. So, Zach, with that, I think Andre brought up familiarity and carryover. We'll play the Vrabel video one more time, and we're going to ask everybody here to give us one word to describe how you feel about Tim Kelly being hired as Titans OC. What's one word to describe how you feel about Tim Kelly being hired as Titans offensive coordinator? But I'm going to tell you guys about Hughes and Coleman. That's 2 words. Hughes and Coleman right there. 2 names that can go to battle for you when it comes to you getting injured in a car wreck. So if that unfortunately happens, Hughes and Coleman can go fight the insurance companies and get you the money you deserve. They've been doing it for 30 plus years and have recovered over $1 billion for you and for clients across the state of Tennessee and in Kentucky. So here's what you do. You call Hughes and Coleman for a free case consultation. It's 800-800-4600. I hope you never have to do it. I hope you know someone that never has to do it. But Hughes and Coleman is there for you when you need them to make sure that you get what you deserve from being injured in a car wreck. For a free case consultation, 800-800-4600. Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, Principal Office, Nashville, Tennessee.
A to Z Sports, we are powered by BetMGM. Man, I won some money last night too. I am streaking, baby. I am hot, red hot. I even won money on LeBron last night because I knew he was going to make those points. All those points that he's made. He's got more points than anybody else has points. Well, I did that on BetMGM because they afford me the opportunity. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. If you're a new user, you can win some cashola. ATOZ SPORTS, all one word right there in the bonus code tab. They are the king of sports books. Download the app today.
Tons of comments flying in here. We're asking you guys, what is one word to describe the Titans hiring Tim Kelly as offensive coordinator? Here's Mike Vrabel again on why Tim Kelly got the job.
I think it's the right fit for us at this time. It's the perfect fit. Met with some really good candidates. Yeah, I think what Tim ultimately was able to do was be able to provide some familiarity and some carryover to what we were doing, because I don't think everything's broken. I don't believe that. But then also be able to, add some things that can really help us and take advantage of some opportunities. I've seen him, call games in this league against us. Felt like he has a great feel for the game, his energy, his leadership, all things that came out throughout this process of multiple meetings with him and other candidates.
So we're asking everybody, what's one word to describe how you feel about Tim Kelly being hired as Titans OC? If we were to ask this to Mike Vrabel, maybe that one word would be perfect, the perfect fit.
I started I was watching live, and when he said, this is the first clip. This is the first thing he said. This is the first question, guys. What you just saw.
It's actually the second, because of Zoom and Teresa Walker's audio wasn't working, and then so that happened again, and so Mike Vrabel, the second thing he said.
Well, she didn't ask the question though.
No, I know.
So it was the first question because she didn't.
Vrabel also said maybe we should have done this in person after the Zoom things didn't work. But anyway,
we agree. We want to do them in person too, right?
Yes.
Like the Zooms aren't fun. They're not happy.
Right.
Before we get to all the comments, here's some lunchbox money. Gary 2 times doubles down and says, until the Titans get talent, it doesn't matter if Jesus is the offensive coordinator. And Shane says, we now have a chance to move up to the number 1 overall pick at a crossroads, and Vrabel made the right decision. So, wow, there, and Shane's coming in with a little bit different perspective. Let's go to the chat and some words, some one words. I'll scroll all the way back up because there's a lot of words. Lee says confused, uninspired from Donald, predictable from Jason, pissed from Michael, meh from Scott, mixture from Tighten Up, mad from Guy, pessimistic from Ronnie, uninspiring from Bork, skeptical there from Richter, whelmed from Steven.
Just whelmed.
Hoodwinked, not underwhelmed, not overwhelmed, but whelmed. Hoodwinked from Lee, uninspired. Coming in, we've got slighted, done, flabbergasted. Harry says bored, another meh. Underwhelmed from Jason, disappointed from another Jason. I can't read that word. Neutral says Rambo, weak from Bork, stationary from Danny, puke from Michael, bamboozled from Lee, insanity, expected, disgusted. There's so many words. Egotistical from Yuri. There's a lot of good words, but Austin, all of these words are negative besides whelmed.
Whelmed is just
neutral.
But I even think whelmed in the sense is also kind of negative, because it just shows how apathetic maybe that answer might be. And I see Corey says purgatory. Nick says friends. We're going to talk about that later on. Major Key says stagnant. Zach, my word is optics, and it's not the good kind. It's the optics that this move shows you of everything we talked about in the open about, if Tim Kelly was the perfect fit for the Titans right now as OC, then why didn't you make that change in December to maybe try to win the AFC South for the 3rd consecutive year instead of letting Todd Downing run it into the ground with 7 consecutive losses? And so there's optics going multiple ways. It's you could have given Tim Kelly a shot as the OC late in the year and see what would have happened there. And then maybe he does some good things and earns the job. You also have optics here. Let's rewind again, Zach, to the, off season following the 2020 season. Shane Bowen was the defensive play caller on game days without the defensive coordinator title. And it was a disaster. It was a bad defense. It was a historically bad defense on third down and from a pass rush standpoint, but the Titans offense was good enough to carry it. And the optics were bad that Shane Bowen was actually promoted after that. And the optics were also that it was the player's fault, not the coach's fault. Well, the optics today, Zach, is Mike Vrabel once again saying, well, the players were the problem and Todd Downing was the problem, not the overall coaching philosophy or scheme. And so that optics is where I land with, and it's multi-layered, but bad optics from everything they went through after firing Todd Downing, talking about, hey, requesting interviews for Nagy and Bieniemy and others, and then just sitting here and rolling with Tim Kelly a month later is bad optics.
Well, they didn't interview those guys, right?
Requesting, I said requesting the
interview. Yeah, but again, there's optics there, right?
Yeah.
Is that now? Before I get to my word, we had a show earlier about the offensive coordinator search, which when the opportunity is there, and I read this in Mike Vrabel's voice, and I was like, this is coach speak. This means nothing. I think we solidified that meant nothing.
When the opportunity is there.
It's when it was Tuesday on February 7th. The opportunity has always been there to promote Tim Kelly. And that's why I say you got to read between the lines when it comes to Mike Vrabel. He's good. He comes from the Belichickian way, right? He knows what he's doing. He's not stupid in the sense of how he deals with media. And I also think that there is a sense that we have learned about Mike Vrabel is that he doesn't care as much about optics, because that's your one word. And I agree with it. I don't disagree with what you said, but Mike Vrabel doesn't give a rip.
Yeah, but the fans do.
Yeah, but he doesn't care about what the fans think. Well, let's just be honest. He doesn't. He would have fired Todd Downing in midseason if he did. He would have suspended him, but he didn't.
I'm not. Again, I don't think Mike Vrabel needs to care everything about what the fans think. But you know who does care about what the fans think? His boss. Amy Adams Strunk cares about what the fans think. She cares about the perception.
Her job, not his job.
I know that, but you know who controls his job? She does. And so eventually, Mike Vrabel not giving a damn about what the fan thinks could, and I'm not saying will, but could bite him, because optics matter. Butts in seats matter, and bad optics lead to less butts in seats or more opposing fan butts in seats, and that affects Amy Adams Strunk's overall perception of her franchise and potentially her bottom line. And so whenever bad optics affect the fans, my favorite word, apathy. Apathy for a fan base is a disease. And when you get that apathetic disease in a fan base, that loses the owner money. And she doesn't want to miss out on any money, especially when she's having to pour however much, $700 million of her money and her family's money into a brand new stadium to have bad optics and an apathetic fan base that's diseased. And so it does matter at some point. Mike Vrabel doesn't care, which is his prerogative, but he should kind of a little bit.
No, he should. Well, he won't. And the reason why is because there's an X factor in this. Mike Vrabel's mindset, which is a player's mindset, which is a head coach's mindset, is there's one thing that changes everything: winning. If you win football games, it eliminates every single solitary thing that you just said, right? It doesn't matter if you care about the fans. It doesn't matter if you have a $1 billion stadium. It doesn't matter. You won't be apathetic if you win football games. And Mike Vrabel knows that is a recipe for success. He is now making decisions on how to win football games, not based on what the fans think. Now, I'm not saying, and I would be clear for Mike Vrabel, is he does not, it's not that he dislikes the fan. He loves the fans. He loves the fan base. But he ultimately does not, I don't think, care what the fan base views on his decisions if he feels his decisions can win football games. Here's my one word. Okay. Austin, we said it yesterday, and I will now I now kind of question what I said yesterday. because we had the graphic rebuild, reset, retool. You said reset.
Yep.
I said retool. After yesterday afternoon, I think my one word is reset. I don't have a lot of confidence. I pray. You talk about Lord Jesus being offensive coordinator. You want to pray to the Lord Jesus above that they don't reset. But I feel like this is a motion to reset. It's not a motion to retool. And that should scare fans if they're trying to get Aaron Rodgers or another quarterback in here to really build upon, because that's the familiarity that Mike Vrabel falls back on time and time again, to hire within, to promote within, to move pieces around and maybe go less outside of the building. You know, the Titans went outside of the building when it came to Rand Carthon because they interviewed multiple candidates from in-house. And Monty, honestly, he got the GM job for the Cardinals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there were good candidates in-house, but they ultimately went to the 49ers brass and got Rand Carthon. My worry is that this is a sign of resetting for 1 year. You got a lot of expiring contracts, and you can shake things up this offseason, or you can have one final ride with this crew. Derrick Henry's in his final year of his contract. Ryan Tannehill is in his final year of his contract. That is the core piece of the offense. You're going to have to and maybe you concentrate on the offensive line this offseason, which you should, to protect the guys you already know are going to be there. We'll talk later in the week about the impact of Ryan Tannehill. We'll talk also later in the week about Mike Vrabel kind of justifying going in-house and what can happen. But my one word is reset. I feel differently today, this morning, Austin, than I did yesterday morning. And that's only 24 hours.
Yeah. So, I think, Zach, I want to go back to a few things that Vrabel said in that opening answer on why Tim Kelly got the job, and some other things I think that are more important than Vrabel saying, oh, it's the perfect fit for what we need right now, or that, the familiarity and carryover. Those three words, perfect, well, 4 words, perfect fit, familiarity, carryover, are what fans and I think most people immediately jumped into of like, oh my gosh, that sounds awful. Why would you want familiarity and carryover with a 30th ranked offense in the NFL? So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into what I also think is some good coming out of that. But Zach, tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go find your perfect make and model. It's right around the corner. Quick trip down I-40 exit 236. That's WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Palisade at the bottom of the screen, full-size SUV, third row seating, perfect family car. Toss out your mama's minivan and get into a Palisade. You got the Sonata. You've got the Elantra. You've got the Tucson, the Santa Fe. These are all fuel efficient cars. We'll talk about fuel a little bit later in the show. Fuel efficiently. You got to have fuel. They'll get you from A to B. And if you're not about that life, that's okay as well. You have the Ioniq, which is battery powered, which does impact, our earth and our community in a positive way. They got you covered at Hyundai. All right, WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Also, with the BetMGM app, you can join as a new user with BetMGM and take advantage of a big-time deal with our bonus code ATOZ Sports. That gives you an incredible first bet offer with bonus code ATOZ Sports. That means you download the app, sign up with our code, again, ATOZ Sports, make your first deposit and your first real money wager. You can get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you miss it. So you get 2 shots at it or multiple shots at it with bonus code ATOZ Sports and the BetMGM app. So download that today. So Zach, going back to what he said, what Mike Vrabel said about Tim Kelly and being the right hire for the team right now, I'm going to look past the perfect fit. I think that's a lot of coach speak, which is ridiculous. I'm going to look past the familiarity and carryover. And what I think Mike Vrabel was counting on and relying on, and maybe why he wasn't as willing to make the move in December and fire Todd Downing early and give Tim Kelly an opportunity, is because I feel like Mike Vrabel was banking on playing against Tim Kelly led offenses for 3 years when Tim Kelly was the OC and play caller with the Houston Texans. And I think Vrabel watching and coaching against Tim Kelly in games gave him enough confidence that he can do it. And so that's something that I do think we have to take into consideration here, is that Tim Kelly has more experience as an offensive play caller in the NFL than Todd Downing did when he was named as Titans offensive coordinator and play caller. And I do think that matters.
If he had more experience, why didn't he fire Todd Downing after his DUI? Austin, I want to, but I'll let you think about that answer.
I got my
at the
answer.
end of the season. At the end of the season, after the Packers game, the Titans, which they were 7-3, let that sink in. They're 7-3. They scored 16, 10, 22, 14, 14, 13, and 16 points in the next 7 games. They lost every single solitary game.
Zach, I don't agree. Again, like I don't want, like I'm trying to diagnose what Mike Vrabel was saying, right?
And that's what I'm asking, though.
Yeah, and so I think, and I said this after the loss to the Eagles, fire Todd Downing now and give it to Tim Kelly and see what happens over the last 5 games. It didn't happen. And so that's what should have happened.
Was this preconceived? Did Mike Vrabel, and I don't know this is a question. I'm not accusing anybody of doing anything, because I do think that would be unfair to the candidates, right? We talk about the Rooney Rule of being unfair to already hire your guy without talking to more people. So I'm not making accusations. But based on kind of what the actions are, it kind of seems like he kept Todd Downing to save Tim Kelly to be the offensive coordinator. So he didn't throw him into such a bad situation that he couldn't justify hiring him, because that's what he wanted to do the entire time.
Maybe. And we also know that there was a request put in to interview Tim Kelly as offensive coordinator before Downing was hired. The Texans did not grant that request. And so there was interest from Vrabel and the Titans 2 years ago, and they had the opportunity to bring Tim Kelly inside after the entire Texan staff got fired from David Culley. And so we know that. And so we know that there was somewhat of an affinity for Tim Kelly there. But I guess, Zach, I don't know if that's what he wanted to do. It seems really weird to sacrifice.
They weren't out of the playoff race, though, right?
Yeah,
like, here's your opportunity to make the playoffs.
I know.
The game.
I know. Like, you had an opportunity in a 3-game lead in the AFC South to host a playoff game for the 3rd consecutive year. I'm with you, but it just feels like
if you really cared about your fans, you'd win those games to host a playoff game, right?
Just need to win one. That's all he needed to do was win one
game. Yeah, exactly. Game.
And so again, like that's how I think it should have been done, and why I think it was a missed opportunity, and why it gives me bad optics. But at the end of the day, moving forward, it's about Mike Vrabel, I think, believing that he has enough data and a sample size on Tim Kelly as a play caller to feel good about this, about him being the perfect fit, which I think is BS.
Right. And that was my problem with yesterday.
Sorry, Mr. Jones made me laugh. He says it wasn't in the script. Firing Todd Downing wasn't in the script midseason.
It wasn't in Vrabel's script, right? I mean,
and
Vrabel said this yesterday. If you watch the full press conference, and look, he takes this as a badge, is that it's his responsibility to put the football team in the best position to win based on his decisions. And he was also asked, what was Rand Carthon's involvement? And I laughed, because he was kind of like, yeah, we talked. This was Mike Vrabel's decision. Rand Carthon doesn't know Tim Kelly from Kelly Tim. And so, I think this is Mike Vrabel's move. But if you're looking at the optics, as you said, over the last several months and the situational football that they were in, it seems like he was saving them.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick. Sheila John Huff is just completely misunderstanding circumstances here. Sheila John Huff says, you said it's better to lose, Zach, last season. So come on, bro. Your words, red flag replay, bub. So there's a massive difference, Sheila John Huff, in Zach saying with 5 games left, you have a chance to win the AFC South, and you should do whatever it takes to win the AFC South with 5 games left, versus when you don't make those decisions and opportunities to win the AFC South and you suck and continue to lose all the other games, and it comes down to a week 18 win and make the playoffs and pick 19th, or lose and miss the playoffs and pick 11th. And so Sheila John Huff, like, come on, dude. Like, do you understand, like, nuance? My God, they're like completely different circumstances.
I didn't even have to argue. Just
I know,
myself.
like, it's just stupid.
I mean, I looked at the last week of the season, and we knew the circumstances prior to the last week of the season, right? Because that wasn't going to change. And that was how I felt. It would be beneficial for the long term. And look, we'll probably play this tomorrow. And Sheila John Huff, I will tell you this. If you listen to Mike Vrabel yesterday, some of the things that he said is that it wouldn't have mattered, right? It wouldn't have mattered. It seemed like Mike Vrabel had a certain feeling about last season with all of the injuries that went on for the second straight year, with the quarterback situation, with the wide receiver situation, the offensive line situation, and some of the defensive players that weren't available. You could feel in that Zoom, you could feel how Mike Vrabel felt about last season.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that. A to Z Sports here live on this Wednesday, reacting to the hiring of Tim Kelly as Titans offensive coordinator. Doing to play another video because a lot of people have brought up in the comments earlier in the show about Vrabel staying in-house. And I even saw someone use their one word as incestual when it comes to Mike Vrabel's hiring of coaches and promotion of coaches being incestual, which is
the hills have eyes. But let's not go down the hills have eyes.
No, let's not do that. But I do think a very, very good question asked by Paul Kaharski to Mike Vrabel. Here's that interaction.
Understand what you said about having good people in-house at the start, but it seems like more than a coincidence that when you do go outside for Tim or for Charles, that they're guys that you've worked with before. And it can seem rather insular that you're reluctant to bring in somebody that you're not connected to. You have an affinity, as most people do, for people you're familiar with?
Well, I mean, I've enjoyed all the interviews that we've had, and I know, I think that's important. I don't think that's certainly the barometer in which we make decisions. I don't want to do that. I think that's we've had numerous coaches here that I've been able to work with. I think as a head coach, I come up with a bunch of ideas. I'm confident that the coaches that we have here have and will continue to tell me, that's too much. That's not going to work. That's too much for the players, or, hey, that's a great idea. And I do think that's important, whether that I knew them previously or they came in here. I think we have a great staff. I think we have great teachers to continue to develop and, evaluate and bring in, great people and then see where the talent level takes us and be able to make decisions on what we want to do schematically in offense and defense and special teams.
So there's Vrabel, a lot of, it's a good question, right? But Vrabel didn't exactly give a direct answer, but, and I think Paul was very fair with how he presented the question. Or, you have an affinity for people that you've worked with, like most people do, because that's the reality is most people like and feel more comfortable with hiring and bringing on other people that they've had a past with, that they've enjoyed their working relationship. And so it was a fair question how it was presented. But Zach, what was your initial thoughts before we move forward?
Yeah, well, I think that it's become a thing, right? That's when you have to really take a look and saying, are the guys that I'm surrounding myself with, are they too close? Am I too close to the situation? Do I need a third party? Like it's the whole point of like arbitration, right? Is that another set of eyes to look through a different lens to maybe utilize Derrick Henry in a different way, to maybe get Tannehill into a space where he can be closer to his 2020 self instead of the last couple of years, to get the most out of developing Traylon Burks as the next AJ Brown, right? I mean, these are all types of things. And sometimes you do need another set of eyes. And look, I understand where Vrabel is coming from to saying, I don't want to be that. Well, if you don't want to be that, you cannot try to prevent yourself from becoming that.
Well,
But these are the actions.
Yeah.
These are high prioritized jobs that he is elevating, and he's done it on numerous occasions. It's not just one time. And then you get the results that you do, whether they're failed playoff appearances like this past year, or they're failed playoff attempts when you actually get in them, and play the Ravens and play the Bengals and lose in those games. That it's understood how you're measured. It's very open and honest of how fans and analysts and everybody and owners measure success in the NFL. And so if you don't have that success, we take a longer, harder look at what you're doing to get to your result, whatever it is.
Yeah. So I want to get to this in a second. We're going to talk about what's a positive in Tim Kelly, but Mike Vrabel has now hired 6 offensive and defensive coordinators as Titans head coach. You can go through them. On defense, Dean Pease and Shane Bowen. On offense, it's LaFleur, Arthur Smith, Todd Downing, now Tim Kelly. Matt LaFleur is really the only guy that he did not have a previous relationship with. Now, Todd Downing was an outside hire when he was brought in as a tight ends coach. But there have been other outside hires that Mike Vrabel has brought in, but they've been in a position coach or a quality control coach or an analyst or a pass game coordinator. And then he's only gone back to that elevation once LaFleur left, elevates Arthur Smith from tight ends coach. Arthur leaves, Downing, outside hires, tight ends, elevated, and now Tim Kelly's the same thing.
It's 1 out of 6, basically, what you're telling.
Dean Pease retires, and Shane Bowen elevated from within too. So that's,
it's 1 out of 6, right?
It's risk, right? Mike Vrabel is willing to take more risks in outside hires where he's unfamiliar with somebody for a lower level position job.
Yeah.
And then once they gain his trust or whatever the hell, then he's willing to give them promotions in bigger, more developed roles, which I don't think is a bad philosophy. I just think there was a missed opportunity here to go out and fix something that's been very bad. And so let's ask this, because I have a clear answer on what I think is the best thing about, or really a positive thing about Tim Kelly being hired as Titans offensive coordinator. Positive thing. That's what we want from you guys. A positive thing about the Titans hiring Tim Kelly as OC. But first, going to tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you got to go to the Bone and Joint Institute. They will help you get right, get healthy, and live a full life without that injury, and get that thing in the rearview mirror. So check them out in Franklin, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports. We're powered by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. That's ATOZ SPORTS in the bonus code tab when you download that app. New users, and this is hooking you up. If you're a new user, you should take advantage of this. New users, you get that bonus code, and then you get bonus bets up to $1,000 in bonus bets for new users. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. They are the king of sports books. Download the app today.
All right. So the question we're asking right now is, what is a positive in the Titans hiring Tim Kelly as the offensive coordinator. I'm going to scroll through some comments. I have a very clear answer on this. There's, let's see. This is mediocre activity. That one.
I don't know if we'd classify that as positive.
Yeah, I'm just reading some comments that, Matt and Jonathan both say he's not Todd Downing.
Oh, there you go.
Hot Doobie says it's not Todd Downing. We got here Moolah on Facebook saying chemistry, experience with the Houston Texans. Steven says Donald going back to the Tim can't be worse than Todd.
That's like, real quick. That's like when you go out to eat and you eat a bad meal and it's like, God, that was a miserable experience. Well, I'm not hungry anymore though. Like that's what everybody's saying in the comments about Todd Downing. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Ken says positive thing. He'll listen to Vrabel. Tim Kelly made Davis Mills look like a good quarterback when he was there in 2021 as the play caller with the Texans. So MB says he now has familiarity with the personnel and knows how to better use them. I think that's fair. Rooney just says he can't think of one. Well, Rooney, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna show you. I think it's pretty clear. Mike Vrabel said that he thinks and feels that Tim Kelly is a good play caller and has a good feel for the game. That is a positive thing, because my biggest knock on Todd Downing was not the scheme. It wasn't the philosophy. It wasn't how he installed things or coached or taught things up during the week. I don't know how Todd Downing was in the meeting room, but all I've heard is that Todd Downing's a great person. But he had no feel for play calling situations. Todd Downing had no feel for in-game rhythm or getting something going or when to go away from a trend and realize that you're running it into the ground on 1st and 10 because you called 85% run plays on first down. That's Todd Downing's problem. Tim Kelly is a part of all the other stuff. Tim Kelly's a part of the game planning, the scouting, looking a week ahead. Tim Kelly's a part of the concepts and designs and install. But Tim Kelly wasn't calling the plays. And Todd Downing clearly had a bad feel for play calling. And if Tim Kelly has a good feel for play calling, that's an upgrade in itself. That's my positive.
Okay, I think that's a good positive. I will go to something you mentioned a little bit earlier in the show, and it's all an if. Like, we don't know if he has good feel for this team next year. We'll find out, right? But I'll take the Shane Bowen example. And I saw a comment, Jason, really good play caller. He was on the bench behind Downing. But that last line, he was on the bench behind Downing. Shane Bowen was on the bench behind Vrabel, right? Before he was elevated to defensive coordinator. Austin, I think we can all say that when Shane Bowen was elevated, we were like, this is probably not going to work. What's going on? But it worked, correct? I mean, their defense has improved under Shane Bowen. Maybe that could happen with the offense, is that Tim Kelly was not given enough control because Todd Downing had all of the control, that maybe this year he comes in and Mike Vrabel anoints him with power as the play caller, the offensive coordinator, the scheme. I mean, he does everything, and he calls the shots, especially because Mike Vrabel is a defensive-minded head coach. I feel that Mike Vrabel is probably more, I think he's evolved as a head coach, but more willing to give his opinion and what needs to be done, maybe on the defensive side of the ball, relying on his experience, more so than maybe the offensive side of the ball. And so that gives Tim Kelly the control. And so maybe, here's my positive, it works out similar to what Shane Bowen worked out, because Shane Bowen has job security.
Yeah. And it's kind of like flipped on what Shane Bowen and Tim Kelly's responsibilities were and like where they sat on the bench. Like, Shane Bowen was calling the plays on game day, but not able to do the job in its entirety throughout the week. Tim Kelly was doing a different job throughout the week and not calling plays on game day. Calling the plays on game day was the problem. Running the ball on first down 85% of the time against the Jacksonville Jaguars in a win-and-in situation was a bad play calling trend. And if Tim Kelly can, mix things up and not be that predictable. Like predictability was such a word that we used about Todd Downing over the last 2 years. If Tim Kelly has a better feel for that, then maybe the Titans and what, Mike Vrabel also said, it's not all broken. And I believe him on that. I don't disagree. It's not all broken. Like there were good things they did. When the offense was healthy, when Tannehill was healthy, they were very good in the first quarter. They sucked later on. And I feel like, remember the first year of Todd Downing, they were terrible in the first quarter and got better later on once the players started making plays. It flipped because Tim Kelly was a part of game planning and installing, and they got good early, and then they got bad late when it came to Todd Downing's feel of the game.
Yeah, from what I know and what it sounds like, more for what I know, but Tim Kelly wasn't as evolved this year as I think fans thought.
Or wanted, at least.
Yeah, I would say, okay, that's fair. Wanted. And I told you that on a number of occasions, Austin, just based on, because there was at one point, when they were losing, when we were talking about why is Todd Downing still, why not Tim Kelly? And so I did a little research and some recon and got some information on, I don't think he was as involved as we all thought.
Well, it sounds like Tim Kelly was more involved in the look ahead part of the job, right?
And that wasn't the problem. The problem was 3rd and 6.
Yeah. And personnel was a problem. We know that too, but there are a lot of problems. But yeah, so Tim Kelly's job in 2022 was not the problem. We'll see if his job in 23 can be the solution. So, all right, Zach, let's throw some shade because I have a gut feeling that there's a ton of shade to get to on this Wednesday because of all the moves the Titans have made over the last couple of days. So time to throw some shade, but tell us all first about our great sponsor, Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com/A to Z. No shade there because they hook you up each and every month. They hook me up each and every month with a great health plan, better service, better rates, better coverage. That's what they can promise you. And that's what they've promised me, but that's what they've provided. That's kind of the best part. Farm Bureau Health Plans, I switched at the end of last year. I'm running it back in 2023 because I saved 20% per month. I got free teledoc conferences with my plan. It was so simple that all I had to do is take a health assessment. They gave me a quote, and I realized I needed to switch. Whether you're an individual, whether you're single, whether you're married with kids, they have your perfect plan. That's FBHP.com/ATOZ.
A to Z Sports, take advantage of our great bonus code offer with BetMGM. That's when you download the BetMGM app, you sign up with our bonus code ATOZ Sports. You make your first deposit and you get a fantastic first bet offer with BetMGM. What you do is your first real money wager, you get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you lose it. So it's a great chance to join the BetMGM train, just like Zach and I have done over the last several years with bonus code ATOZ Sports that gets you up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if that first bet loses. So take advantage of that. We know what's coming up this upcoming Sunday, so do it the right way with BetMGM. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligible requirements. First online real money wager only. Rewards issued at non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire in 7 days from issuance. And for problem game support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Time for some shade. Throwing shade here on this Wednesday. Zach, I'll throw you to the chat to see if there's some shade to be read from the audience before we dive into our shade this morning.
Well, let's say W. Calnan actually throws some jackpot bucks before he throws shade. So there's no shade there. Yeah. And I agree with this. And I think this is what I said earlier on the show. Excuse me. It says this move makes him think that they are 10,000% staying with Ryan Tannehill. We'll probably extend him another year, lower cap hit, sign wide receivers in free agency, go to left tackle, build the rest of the roster, and see what the Titans can do. We will talk about that later this week. So that kind of sets us up, whether it's a Titans Thursday tomorrow on that show or whether it's Friday. Let's get to some shade, though. Donald, shade on his Mavericks for trading the drama queen Kyrie. I think everybody is waiting with bated breath to see what Kyrie Irving does with the Dallas Mavericks, what he does with Luka Doncic on the court, and then what he does off the court if he ruffles any feathers. Who knows?
The Alice Mavericks, right?
Right, there you go. Shade and Colts fans thinking that Irsay is going to make good moves this offseason. Ricochet Ray, shade is always thrown at the University of Georgia and the Indianapolis Colts. Screw those guys. Ricochet Way, actually, I will not throw shade at the University of Georgia because I had a money line bet on Ole Miss last night in college basketball that I hit because they beat the Georgia Bulldogs. Let's see here. Shade. Jameson, shade on people for throwing shade at the Pro Bowl. All right, so shade on me. If the players like it and have fun, to hell with what you think. Well, it's entertainment purposes, and if it's not entertaining, that's where I throw shade on it. Mr. Jones says, shade on fake fans always want to cry and complain and support the team. Find a new one. There are 31 that you can whine about. I mean, I think this is what it represents is it's a discussion. You can complain if you want to complain. And then, earlier, shade on anybody throwing shade on the Pro Bowl. Scott's throwing shade on the Pro Bowl. Just end it. End it already. It's a waste of time. Yeah. Denise says shade on Vrabel for the hire. Hot Doobie says shade on himself, literally calling for anyone else besides Downing to be OC and now being butthurt that it is an in-house hire.
Zach, that kind of leads me, into one of my shades that I think, and that's, Buck, our own Buck Rising of A to Z Sports Primetime. He tweets out and, the LMAO, you guys were calling for Tim Kelly to replace Todd Downing all season long, and now you're pissed that Tim Kelly got the job. Well, Buck, there is a difference in fans wanting immediate change in the season to impact the season positively, but then once there's an opportunity to go outside and get somebody fresh and new ideas, that fans are underwhelmed by it or whelmed by it, according to one of our viewers. So shade on Buck for just taking a sweeping accusation on Titans fans for calling it for one thing and now being upset about it. It was all about the opportunity in the season of changing for the sake of the AFC South title. And now it's fair to be underwhelmed by Tim Kelly, because why not do this 2 months ago and see if you're in the playoffs? That's one of my shades. I'll let you kind of go. I got two shades.
All right, so here's my shade. And this is unique shade because I understand it, but I'll kind of show you what I think. So last night I watched LeBron, the Lakers, Oklahoma City game. I was sitting here telling, and I'll say it, my fiance, we were sitting here talking. I was like, I'm looking back at it. Out of the 38,000 points that LeBron has scored, I've probably watched at least a minimum of 20,000 of those points. So I've watched a lot of LeBron James. I always have. I'm a fan of LeBron starting when he was drafted. And last night I wanted to watch history be made, and it was pretty unbelievable. And then this morning I won money on him going over, and then I had a parlay, but the Lakers had to win. The Lakers lost, so I lost that parlay. So I went to sleep. I was tired. I had a long day, and I was going to wake up. So I woke up, and I actually was scrolling the internet. And I saw this picture, and this is mind-blowing, of the number of people that are not watching the court but watching their phones.
Yeah.
Look at everybody with their phone out. And I know you're trying to capture history. And I probably, Austin, I would throw shade at my future self if I was in that position. I probably would have my phone out too, right?
Yep.
To say that you were there. But the percentage of people that did not have their phone out was either, I think, like a 7-year-old dude or a 13-year-old kid, right? Like, that was the discrepancy, everything in between. And Austin, what it made me think about is, like showing pictures to people in the past. If we would have shown this to our grandparents in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, whatever, and showed them this picture, they would be mind blown of what is in those people's hands.
Yeah.
And it's in every single person's hand. And so I think we all know that these things rule the world. We can't sit here and be hypocrites. Our business is based on this thing. This is how we make a living. It's just the world. You have to adapt. You have to evolve, or you die. But I don't know. That was eye-opening to me, that people, there's no, you don't live in the moment. You're here to put it on Snapchat, on TikTok, to get more views, to get more likes, to get more followers, to get whatever that represents. So that was my morning. I woke up this morning, I was like, man, I've never seen that many people do that at one time in a singular moment, captured on a photo in which somebody else was doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's almost like, and you see this with concerts all the time. Like, you're just scrolling through your Instagram stories of people you follow, and it's like 8 stories of like concerts in a row. And it's like, you'd rather have a video of the moment to look back on instead of being in the moment. And we all know, Zach, has there ever been a good concert video recorded on your phone?
Not the one that I've been
they
like,
all
dude,
suck. No,
dude,
they all
hey,
suck.
Let me show you this, Austin. Hey, I'm going to show you this concert video. You never use them.
They all suck. They all suck. And like the next morning, you're like, man, the concert was fun. I'm going to go watch the video of that song I took. And like, I was better in person. Yeah, but you were videoing your damn phone the whole time. And so, like,
I never use them. Like, you never show people those.
Yeah.
Like, you know what you do? You put it on your Instagram story for 24 hours and then it's gone forever.
Yeah. And then at some point you're going to delete it from your phone because you need more space for dog photos.
And Eric is saying Zach is just turning into an old man. Honestly, Eric, I am the epitome of not turning into an old man. I probably am on TikTok more than anybody else in the company. And I'm the oldest person in the company. I keep up with the time. Well, I'm close, but I pride myself on not being the old man in the room. And I'm not sitting here saying that this is a bad thing. I understand the value of a phone and all of that stuff, but I don't know. It was kind of sobering watching and looking at that photo.
Well, and I'm going to save my other shade for next week because we've had, good conversation on this, because I also saw a tweet that said, go back and watch and listen to when LeBron scored the point that did it, right? It was quiet because nobody was paying attention. They were just like, they hit stop record and then like made sure they had it instead of like, hey, we just saw like this record that we thought was never going to be broken and like cheering. It was kind of quiet. It was weird. It was like an awkward silence, kind of like a muffled like cheer hush, because everybody was paying attention to the phone, to the video they just recorded.
And I will say this on that moment, weirdly, and I told you how many points that I've seen LeBron score. I don't know why, but like I felt a part of it. I felt some sort of ownership of that accomplishment because I've watched so many basketball games. I've put in a lot of time. I also thought it was funny that they interviewed his kids, congratulations. And Bronny James, his oldest, has a funny line. He's like, yeah, when I was in grade school, I wanted to get up and work out with my dad before school and do all the things that, he did. And he said, I'd wake up at 6 a.m. I'd walk downstairs and he'd already be gone. and Bronny's like, bro, where'd that guy go? We're talking about his dad. And, so much effort and time and pressure had been put into LeBron James. And everybody on this show, and Austin, my affinity for LeBron James. I've seen multiple finals games down in Miami. I've seen multiple Cavs games. I am a fan of LeBron James and the art that he brings to the sport of basketball. Whether you like him or not, I understand people that don't like him. You hated his face for a long time. I bet you that has probably died down a little bit, maybe.
I just don't pay attention to his face.
Right, so it's out of sight, out of mind. But I did feel prideful of, man, I've watched this man's journey, and now he is the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. a record that was held for 38 years that most incumbents would say will never, ever be broken. And he broke it.
He broke it, and everybody's like, well, it's because LeBron's played for 20 years. Longevity. Well, LeBron James is also the 5th highest scoring average per game in the NBA, too. So it's not like it's like he was an average scorer on a per game basis, and because he played 25 years, he broke the record. No, like the dude is a top 5 scoring average per game player in NBA history. So put that in your pipe and smoke it for longevity. So we'll wrap up on that here on this Wednesday. We guarantee to have more reaction to Tim Kelly's hiring as Titans offensive coordinator tomorrow morning. Buck Rising will do it again tonight, A to Z Sports Primetime. I threw shade on Buck for his tweet yesterday about the Tim Kelly hire. So you can hear more of Buck's opinions tonight and what he thinks about the other coaching moves the Titans made. A to Z Sports Primetime is tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time on these same streaming channels. Like the show before you go. We'd appreciate that. Subscribe to us on YouTube and like us on Facebook as well. And we'll see you guys tomorrow morning on Thursday. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.